What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Varsity Overland channel. Today I'm going to give you my long-term review of the Yakima Overhaul HD bed rack. I installed the bed rack on the truck probably almost exactly 2 years ago, and since then I have beat the heck out of this bed rack. So if you want to know how it has held up to the test of time, stick around. Now, before we get started, I'd like to point out that most of the viewers on my channel actually aren't subscribed. Now, I put out a couple videos a month. Some of them are adventure videos, some of them are product review videos like this one. And if you find any information on this channel either entertaining or educational, feel free to subscribe, as well as leaving a like. On top of that, if you like any of the Yakima products that you see in this video, be sure to head on over to F&F Specialty Vehicles in Portland, Connecticut. You can find them online, you can find them on Instagram. If you're in the Connecticut area, you can just drive on over to Portland and check them out. They are a distributor of Yakima products, and one of their specialists actually has the exact same Yakima HD setup that I do on his overland rig. So you could go in and have a look for yourself in person before you even go through the process of ordering your products. So yeah, anyway, let's get into it. So I'm going to start by giving you some basic information about the Yakima Overhaul HD bed rack. I will also explain some of the components that you can get that go along with the bed rack, and then along the way I'll tell you how certain things worked for me and maybe how certain things didn't work for me. At the end of the video, I'm going to attach my in-depth review and partial installation of the rack that I made just a few months after I installed it. And that is quite a long video. It's about 28 minutes long, so if you have the time and you want to know every nook and cranny about this rack, you can give it a view. This is going to be sort of like my fast and loose version of the Yakima Overhaul HD. So what I really like about this bed rack is how versatile it is. It is one of two HD products that Yakima has. This is the Overhaul HD, and then there's also a Outpost HD version of the bed rack. The Overhaul HD, the one that's here on the truck, is height adjustable. You can see right here, there are components that you can loosen to increase the size of the upper portion of the bed rack. It'll go from 19 inches tall all the way up to 30 inches tall. The Outpost HD, which is a little bit smaller, I think it's somewhere around 15, so it's going to be somewhere around here. That one is not height adjustable. But what I like about the Overhaul HD is the fact that it is height adjustable. So if you wanted to put your cargo on the top, let's say you're doing storage boxes or you're doing a kayak or a rooftop tent like I usually use this for, you can go a little bit lower, keeping it closer to like to the 19-inch mark, and that'll keep your center of gravity about as low as it can on this bed rack. But if you want to use the bed of your truck for, you know, basic truck stuff, you're going to transfer a couch or a fridge or maybe a ATV or dirt bike or something like that, you can raise the top bars all the way up to 30 inches, which gives you a lot more space in the bed of your truck. What's also really unique about this bed rack is it's all aluminum, right? It's not steel, it's not aluminum plus steel, it's just all aluminum. So it's a little bit lighter than other bed racks on the market, but that does not mean that it is weaker, okay? It has a dynamic load rating of 300 pounds. It has a static load rating of 500 pounds. And I can tell you, through our travels, we have definitely pushed the limits of that static load rating. Once I get my iCamper rooftop tent up on top, that's about a 160 pound tent. right? And then I have 2 adults sleeping in there. Throughout our travels, there have been either 1 or 2 dogs added to that inside the tent. And then of course, all the extra gear that we end up mounting on the side rails. So it can hold that static load of 500 pounds for sure. It has never given me a reason to think that it's breaking down under that pressure, which is really nice. What you'll also notice are all these little T-slots. I wonder if my camera can adjust to this. All these T-slots on the underside of the rack, on the outside of the rack, all over the place. And what the T-slots do are they allow you to make attachments to pretty much any available space, either through the use of Yakima products, which we're going to talk about in a second, or through the use of carriage bolts, which I've done in the past. I know that these T-slots will fit 5/8 carriage bolts. So if you didn't want to invest in more Yakima products, you know, maybe you're trying to save some money, maybe you're not sure how you're really going to like the rack, you're just kind of testing it out, you can rig up your own storage solutions, your own kind of mounting solutions with other carriage bolts and things that you can find at like your local hardware store. So what do I have this bed rack mounted to? Well, originally I became interested in this bed rack because I learned that there was a bed cover adapter, all right, for the Overhaul HD. So the bed cover that I have is a Pace Edwards Ultra Groove by Lear. It is a retractable tonneau cover, but Yakima actually sells an adapter kit that you can get so that the Overhaul HD configuration will sit on top of the bed cover. So there's 2 ways that you can purchase your Yakima Overhaul HD, all right? When you buy the basic version of the Overhaul HD, it's going to come with 3 components. It's going to come with the mounting feet, which look a little different than this. It's going to come with the load towers, and then the HD bars. The HD bars themselves you could buy separately if you really needed to and you wanted to use them on a different Yakima product or different roof rack configuration. But the second version of this bed rack system is the tonneau adapter, which comes with these little, I guess you could say, like adapter pads right here. All right, so what this does is it gives you these little mounting feet that you place down on top of the T-slots on the side of your bed cover, and then within the T-slots you place in 2 bolts, and they just slide along until they reach the locations that you want your towers to sit. Place your tower down on top, the bolts come up, and then you tighten them down with the nubs on top. So something I do want to mention for anybody who's interested in the Yakima Overhaul HD bed rack, you're going to want to be careful not to tighten the bolts too much, because you will strip the threading, and this happened to me. You can see that this one right here, I've added an extra washer, because what happened was in the early days of my overland build, I was mounting things, taking them off, trying new things, taking them off, and I probably did it a half dozen times in a very short period, and I just over tightened, I think, 2 of my bolts. This one over here on this side as well. I over tightened them and I stripped them. I could have probably contacted Yakima and asked to see if, you know, could you send me out another set of bolts. What I did instead was I just grabbed a set of stainless steel hardware carriage bolts that were the same size. I think it might have been a 1/4 inch. Don't take my word for it, you're gonna have to look online, but they fit in here just the same as the others. So I'm using kind of that replacement part here. It was a little long, that's why I had to add the extra washer. And then the same thing on the other side. And that, I want to say, was probably 14 months ago. So it has not given me any reason to believe that it's not holding up just the same as the original hardware. So with those 2 configurations of the bed rack, you can either mount this to your empty truck bed without a cover on it or anything like that. It'll just mount just the same as any other bed rack would. Or you could go with the Kit adapter like I have. Now, since I've installed this product in the past 2 years or so, Yakima has actually partnered with Diamondback bed covers, and they've come up with a similar system, adapter system, so that the Yakima Outpost HD and Overhaul HD will fit on top of their Diamondback bed covers, which I think is amazing. The only thing that's going to do is that's going to limit your ability to use the side rails. Okay, so these things right here. These side rails do not come with the rest of the bed rack when you order it. That's an additional product. Okay, so you can imagine if you had your HD towers or the Outpost towers on a Diamondback cover. Sometimes you need to use your Diamondback cover by opening and closing, you know, either the back half or the front half. And if you have these side components, it's going to prevent you from raising or lowering your bed cover. So let's say you're okay with doing that, you don't really care, or you have a retractable cover like I do, or you just don't have a cover at all. These side rails allow you to mount a couple more options. Okay, so you get those separately on Yakima's website or any other place that sells Yakima products, and they attach pretty easy. The towers right here, they already have a hole on either side, okay, for this Allen bolt that goes in there. Something that I will mention, that over time, let's see if we can get a good shot here. You can see my Allen bolts are pretty much destroyed. Okay, the threading in there is gone, just because I've attached and removed these components so often as I experimented with various parts. So I would just be extra careful about that, or you could just get your own. Now, one of my favorite parts, not just about this bed rack, but about the Yakima brand overall, is the fact that they were already kind of invested into the whole outdoor lifestyle and cargo management aspect of, you know, vehicle-based travel before overlanding kind of exploded as, you know, a huge trend. And what you see with a lot of overland companies, especially overland companies who build bed racks nowadays, is a lot of the consumers are starting to look into ways that they can use their current overland bed rack for other aspects of their life. So you might see a lot of overland companies and their bed racks starting to cater towards things like hunting or fishing or, you know, winter sports, skiing, snowboarding, water sports, kayaking, paddleboarding, all that kind of stuff. So what you're seeing now, or at least what I'm seeing now, is a lot of overland companies they're trying to adjust their bed racks or adjust their components to fit more lifestyle choices than just vehicle travel. But with Yakima, that's where they started. They were already trying to find ways, you know, for fishermen to carry their gear, trying to find ways for mountain bikers to carry their mountain bikes, trying to find ways for families, you know, piling into a minivan and keeping all of their items that were stored on the roof secure. And then they built a couple overland components. So what's really nice about this bed rack is, yes, it can be used for overlanding, it can be used for camping, but there are so many extra components for other outdoor activities and other outdoor kind of lifestyles. So speaking of those extra items, I have a couple Yakima components that I've attached to my bed rack. And two of them specifically have their own YouTube videos, and I'll mention them as we go along. This is the top grip Yakima product. Very easy to use, very easy to install. There's a small little T-slot washer that fits into the gap and then slides along the rail, and you can basically just pick and choose how far apart you want your top grip components to be. And this is really good for anything that has a cylindrical handle, I guess you could say. So a lot of people will use it for like their paddles, you know, if you're kayaking. I specifically use it for my axe and my shovel. On the opposite side of my bed rack, I've got the recovery board mount which I've made my own video for. So if you want to figure out how to install this or see how it works, then you can head over to my YouTube channel and check out that video. It is kind of specific to Max Tracks. I would imagine that the US Action Tracks, because of how similar they are to Max Tracks, would work here as well. I couldn't get them to work with some of the other brands that I had, like my X-Bowl recovery boards, but like I mentioned earlier, thanks to all the T channels, I was able to use some 5/8 carriage bolts and kind of rig up my own way to mount my older recovery boards. And then on the inside of the bed rack, I have my Rotopax adapter kit. So the exterior section is an actual Rotopax product, but the piece that slides into the T-slide here is an adapter sold by Yakima. And then on the opposite side, I have more of my top grip for my axe. So there's a lot of components that you can add just for overlanding to the Yakima Overhaul HD, but there are so many more that you can get from the Yakima brand for so many different outdoor adventure activities, I guess you could say. Now, because of the way that these HD bars are designed, you can see the beginnings of a little T-channel here. And if you were to take this rubber pad and pull it out, the T-channel would just continue as far as you wanted to use it. And it's just a little rubber piece. So you pull out what you need, you cut it, and then you just stick it right back into place. And speaking of this rubber piece, I really like that they put this small additional piece of padding on the top across the entire bar. Because if I ever wanted to throw something up here, such as a kayak, a paddleboard, whatever, it's not going to be just like rubbing up against the aluminum, the metal, okay? So that's a nice little touch. What this T-Track allows is to do something like an awning, a vehicle-based awning. So Yakima currently has two versions of their awnings. They have a product called the Slim Shady, which is sort of like the basic overland awning you see on a lot of vehicles. And then they just recently came out with a brand new product called the Major Shady, which is one of their 270 awnings. So a couple extra products I want to mention are just things like a road shower, a basket, even a landing pad like a platform. All those things would attach to the two top bars very easily. And I'm just mentioning all these extra products more than what I already have on the truck because this product is just so versatile. So if you are looking for a storage solution for your overland travel, or you're just looking for a bed rack so you can carry some things to go outside and explore the world, I would highly recommend the Yakima Overhaul HD bed rack. If this is too tall, then I would also recommend the Outpost HD bed rack. I imagine that it's built exactly the same. It still has all the same T-slot components. It has all the same versatility as this bed rack as well. It just sits a little bit lower. Maybe you want to keep your center of gravity a little bit lower, or maybe you have your rooftop tent and you don't want it sticking up way up high over your cab. But if it's a hard cover, it's a T-slot cover, something like the Pace Edwards Ultra Groove or the Retrax, it'll definitely work. If you don't have a bed cover, this will still work. I would definitely recommend this bed rack from Yakima. Yeah, I hope it works out great for you. If you know more about Yakima, if there's something that I didn't quite dive into enough, comment down below. Check back for more in the future. Please, feel free to subscribe if you enjoy this, or if you enjoy any of my other like adventure content. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you come back for more. Peace, people.